Right? There was another question. Is it you? Somebody else? Sorry, I looked at too long and you forgot.
Why does it take? I don't. Maybe somebody else who had a question earlier.
No.
Why does it take so much energy to sing that high?
Why does it take so much energy to what?
Sing that high.
Yeah, but why does it take so much energy to do active? The chords are vibrating really fast. And it takes energy to create the right pressure for the chords to vibrate that fast. And actually, this is a good question, actually, because it brings me to this idea of why something feels high. Music isn't high. There's no such thing as high, as there's no such thing as low. There's only fast frequencies and slow frequencies. Right? Right? Voices, instruments, right? They don't exist. Music doesn't exist in this sort of physical, hierarchical space. You know what I mean. Frequencies just go faster or slower. And what is needed to make something go faster? Pressure. It's slower, slightly less pressure. You never have no pressure. You need pressure to create sound, right? And so when you're singing a high G, for example, Stephen, you know the frequency for high G? 440 minus 15, 425 minus 15, 410. 410. 410 vibrations per second, right? No, 8. 440, 880. Sorry, let me do that again. 880 minus 15, 865, 850. So, give or take, high G is 850 vibrations per second.
So what is it for, say, two G's down?
Divided by 4. Yeah. So an octave is the doubles in vibration, right? So if this is, so high A is 880. The A that we used to tune in the orchestra is 440. The octave below is 220. The octave below that is 110. So the relationship itself. All right, and every semitone is about 15 cycles, 15 hertz. Every semitone. That's why. So high A is 880. G sharp is 880 minus 15, 865, and G is 115 is 850. So when you're singing a high G, your chords. See, there's no way you can consciously do this. You can't think, oh, okay, 850. You just have to think pitch, right? You can't, right? But it's 850 hertz, cycles per second. It takes that much energy. And see, this is really cool because you get to a place where you know in your body whether you've got the right energy for that vibration. It's a little low. But eventually you just know that high G feels that way. If I don't have that right pressure, my throat is going to engage. And I can feel that before I do it. So this is where you get to when you sing for a long time and you're conscious about these feelings, right? So that's high G. High A looks like this for me. See how much higher my ribs went and I can't sing a high G if I'm not there. Or a high A. High A, B flat. Right? I have to be that high. I mean, you know, I don't sing those notes publicly, so I can do them, but you know, I'm a mezzo. I can do them, but that's where my body needs to be. Once I'm up there, you see how much more I have to open to go up another semitone? So, pitch, don't forget your question.
Okay.
Don't forget your question.
I won't.
Pitch frequency is related to the height of your ribs. Right? Right? And the length of the phrase, the length of the breath is related to the width. Although the two are related and you can't have one without the other. But if you're going to sing really high, your ribs have to be really high. At least at the beginning when you're learning all of this stuff. Yeah.
So then if you take someone who's
naturally an alto versus someone who's naturally a soprano, how are they different?
Yeah.
I mean, how
Yeah.
are those
Oh,
different?
sorry. How are they different? Well, for whomever at the top of the range, they need more energy, more expansion, more height. So if that G is not at the top of their range,
Right.
they're
Well,
not.
what I'm saying is, why do people have different ranges?
It has to do with the chords.
Okay.
Yeah, physiological
Because
differences.
I've had lots of people say to me before, all women are sopranos. Just listen to them scream. Well, when I scream, I don't scream. Sorry.
Well, there's a truth in there and not. Now, we can all scream high. We could probably all, to a certain degree. Real sopranos can probably vocalize up to F, G, Queen of the Night. I can't do that. So I can't say that I'm a soprano. I can certainly scream up to a C, right? I can't sustain it. And that's the difference, right? You're a high soprano, you may be able to sing a bunch of A's and B's in succession. If you're supporting, you have to support well, right? If you're not supporting, it's not going to work. But you can do it. I can't do it. It takes an incredible amount of energy for me to sing 4 A's in
So
succession.
it's just how
It's the
fast
vocal
your
cords.
vocal cords.
And the shape of the
normally-
larynx, but mostly the vocal cords. Yeah, and if you looked at the difference, there'd be slight differences in terms of length and thickness of the cords. I think that's mostly the difference. Yes, ooh, lots of questions.
What determines the range then? That some people have a larger range than others in terms of...
I think it's the same thing. And partly it's technique. It's your ability to either create enough pressure to make the cords vibrate fast enough without tension, and then on the other end to relax them enough to vibrate slowly enough for the low pitches without them losing contact with each other. So it's partly physiological and certainly technical as well. Yeah.
So, if I'm hearing this properly, then the aging voice,
Yes.
so for those of us who are aging and still want to sing in a choir and still be very productive in the choir, so does it take more energy? You know, so if I really want to run, which I don't, it takes a lot more energy for me to run now than
Than
when
it
I
did?
was 40.
Okay, to a certain extent, because the body changes and you lose certain mass, you lose flexibility, you lose, and the same for singing, you know, the fact that we lose some collagen and stuff makes the vocal cords slightly more brittle, and the fact that we lose muscle mass makes us a little weaker. So it feels that you have to, you know, work harder. But if you had been developing that consistently, it wouldn't feel like you had to do more work, you know? You would just be in the normal process, and you would have to deal a little bit with the loss of certain aspects of the human mechanism, like collagen and whatever other, you know, skin flexibility, softness, right, and perhaps breath capacity and those things. And so yeah, I might feel a little bit like you needed to work a little bit harder perhaps, or to be more aware of all these aspects as the body ages a little bit. Yeah, but less so if you've been doing it consistently. There were lots more questions.
There's no pills we can take then to get,
Pardon?
no pills we can take to get around it?
No.
Just keep singing.
Yeah, keep the,
I
yeah,
was gonna,
yeah,
I have a question that has to do with male and female voices.
okay.
Guys, sorry if this should be your question, but it seems to me, listening to not just this choir, but lots of choir, men have a harder time singing faster than women.
Okay.
Does that have to do with the frequency at which they're...
I think so, to a certain extent. Yeah, I think that when the voices are bigger and heavier, like makes sense, they're a little harder to move. This is why when you want to do coloratura, fast little passages that we find in Bach or Handel, you have to lighten your voice. You know, it's much harder to go, are we like sheep are going astray, right? And I've gone astray. That's the same for women and men. But because men are sitting in a lower place, in a And the chords are slightly thicker as well. They're bigger and thicker, so it's a little bit harder for them. But again, you
So
know,
that's a different
technique.
kind of working.
Yeah.
Working hard or.
Yeah, but it's the same solution, right? It's engaging the support and knowing how to make a leaner tone, perhaps, and that has to do with support. I want to make sure I get to diction. Here, you had a question.
Sure, when you're singing higher and you've got all that surprise and all that energy and you're going higher and higher and your rib cage is getting up and up, well, my shoulders aren't relaxed anymore.
Right. So, but know the difference between raising the shoulders and the shoulders coming up because they're riding on the ribs. So it's not that. So again, you have to know the difference between what that feels like and what this feels like. So when my ribs are way up there, right, I'm still not there, they're down here. So it's just, again, it's awareness, just and knowing the difference and keep coming back to yourself because we sort of lose ourselves, you know, especially in the choir. This is why technique goes out the window in choirs, because there's words, there's rhythms, there's notes as a conductor, there's your neighbors. Very different than singing by yourself, and very different than practicing by yourself. That's why the individual practice is crucial for vocal technique. Singing in a choir is not going to help you, right? I mean, singing in choirs is great. I've done it all my life. It's wonderful. I love it. But you have to have solid technique, and you don't nurture that in the choir consciously. There's no time. You do that on your own. One more question?
Well, just going back to when you were talking about pressure and vibrations, when we're getting higher, there's more energy,
pressure.
more energy.
Yeah, more energy.
Same with dynamics then? Like when we have to get soft and high, it's challenging. And like when the vocal cords aren't coming together, is that when like all of a sudden your sound cuts out?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just like
that's
all
right.
of a sudden there's nothing?
Yeah, if the chords aren't meeting and vibrating together, then there's no sound, there's no phonation, there's no air. So it's easy enough to engage that energy when you're loud,
Yeah.
and then we want to drop it when we're soft. But when you're singing high and you're singing softly, it actually takes more energy. Because, you know, I haven't really stopped to think about this in physiological terms, but the system is working more subtly. The chords, the less of the chords is vibrating, is coming together, but they still have to come together. So it's like gaining that control of a calligraphy pen or something, or doing something really gentle that requires a lot of precision or a lot of control. You actually have to maintain the energy. You know, I know it's not a great answer, and I'm going to ask you to take my word for it on that one. Because I want to go on to something else. But it does take more energy to sing softly, both in the upper and lower registers. So just like we think that you don't have to support when you go down into your chest voice. I don't have to support, this is low. Bullocks. You have to support because the chords are vibrating very slowly, and if there's no energy and no pressure, they'll stop working. So you have to support, even though they're vibrating slowly. One more thing I want to mention with the idea of singing high, like I didn't get to the point of my story, but there's no such thing as high and low. We describe them that way, but we're talking about frequency. And so the reason we use the word high, the way that what we really mean with that word is I've created tension.
High frequency.
And so that note, yes, it's high pitch, but something isn't high for you, something is tight for you.
Or high frequency maybe.
Yes, but when you say to yourself, oh, that's high, you're not describing the height of the pitch, you're describing the tension that you've created. So be careful with that. Because yes, at some point you can't sing any higher, to use the word that we use, because your chords aren't built for that pitch. Like I'm not a soprano, I don't want to sing an A all the time. But if I'm feeling it high, it's because of tension, not because it's high. So when you feel that something is high, there should be light bulbs going on in your head going, I've got tension somewhere. Not, this note is high, I'm not a soprano, I can't sing this. No, that's not the point. The point is that you created tension. So something may feel high, and you might not want to sing it a lot because of the tires you, but there shouldn't be pain, there shouldn't be tension, there shouldn't be constriction, right? So if you're going, yeah, it sounds high, but it doesn't feel any different than this in terms of my physicality. But if I'm going, and you're like, oh, that feels high, it's too high for me. No, that just means I've created tension. I've dropped, I've collapsed, I don't have the right energy, my ribs are too compressed, contracted, I've got tension in my belly, my chin is up, I'm squeezing my throat. There's a million things. The point is that it isn't high, it's tight. You've got tension. So this is really important because everybody says this all the time. Oh, this is too high for me. No, there's no such thing. You're just not working hard enough here. And you're grabbing somewhere else. And that feeling that you feel is not high, it's tight. That's really important.